Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my first tank review after the straw poll, which happened on the live stream of OrangeDoom. Thank you, Orange. The results were kind of surprising, and I think I'll let the straw poll run longer. If you haven't participated yet, you will find links to each tank nation in the video description below. Please vote. If you have already participated, thanks for your feedback. It really helped me out. I was kind of surprised by certain results, and one of the tanks that was requested was the T95, and there is actually so much to talk about it. I had to cut out large portions, and I have to tell you right now that I make it very quick in my standards. So the T95, it is an American tier 5 tank destroyer, and let's have a look at the tech tree. It is located after the M36, which is a slower but upgunned version of the M18 Hellcat, and it actually breaks with, so to say, the entirety of the US tank lines, as it sacrifices nearly the entirety of its mobility for raw armor thickness and protection, and features a gun that I think historically was supposed to destroy German fortifications. And all around this tank, I have to say, hands down, I think this is one of the worst tanks in the game. And the premium version, the T28, which just lacks a little bit of side armor and just features 2 instead of 4 sets of tracks, is really not worth the money. If you're thinking about purchasing it, think about it again when we're finished with the T95 tank review, because the gun and also I think the basic characteristics of the tank are the same. Now the T95, let's just run down the stats. It sits on a battle rating of 6.7, which is okay because you don't face, the top tier predators of 8.0, and there are not many 7.7s in the game, so you mostly will face 7.0s or below. Okay, so your enemies are not that uncomfortable if you compare it to other tanks that sit on 6.7. And on the first look, you should have the armor, but everything about this tank is not good. The if you want a very quick rundown, I give it right now. The armor doesn't work because everybody snipes your cupola, every APHE shell goes through and kills the entirety of your tank or cripples it with the first shot. You are very slow, so that you get either extremely fast outflanked, or you are the last remaining tank of an attack, and then you get flanked and killed. Your mobility is really bad, and the gun is very restricted, and also the ammunition is not good. If you want to improve this tank, you can improve anything on this tank, and it would help massively. Okay, increase the top speed, it would help. Increase the rate of fire, it would help. Increase the survivability, it would help. Reduce the repair times of the track, it would help. But more about that later. So let's talk about the gun and the gun depression, and it's really bad. Just 5 degrees of gun depression, that's Russian level, and also the gun firing arc is like 3 degrees to the left and 3 degrees to the right. So you basically have to aim with the entirety of your tank, and you can't work ridge lines because you just have 5 degrees of gun depression. But that's not a problem, because you even can't get up on top of hills, because you by the way, my T95 is not fully upgraded, because you're looking at the in arcade a horsepower to ton ratio of just over 10 horsepower per ton. That's really bad. And in realistic, fully upgraded, you're looking at 5.77 horsepower per ton. And the top speed is here 13.9. You will see just 13 kilometers at best, and just on flat ground. Every slope is a problem for you, literally. It is a problem. But before we talk about the gun more and in more detail, let's have a quick look at the armor. And this is the actual selling point of the T95. You have over 300 millimeters, to be exact, 305 millimeters of frontal armor. Granted, it is flat, but 300 millimeters, that's the thing. And it's just here, you know, on the lower region around the gun. And then we have the cheeks, so to say, which also are 305 millimeters, but are very, they are sloped backwards. And yeah, we also have here regions that are not very easy to penetrate. The same on the left side here. And also we have a massive gun mantle that covers the small gap the gun causes in the actual frontal armor. So this is actually safe. I have no idea what this should be, but it doesn't seem to be a weak spot. It's just an additional steel ring. Then the lower plate, while being just 135 and 133 millimeters thick, sorry about that, it is sloped backwards drastically at 60 degrees, so most things will auto ricochet, and you effectively have also around about between 280 and when you are firing a bit from above, 320 millimeters. So this is not a place where you should shoot. If you want to kill a T95 and you're sitting in a Soviet or a German tank or an American tank with access to APHE shells, shoot here. Those are the cupolas, and if you penetrate there, and believe me, you penetrate here relatively easy, despite all the rounding and sloping, you have a thickness of 76.2 millimeters, and the effective thickness varies between 111 and 79 millimeters. If you penetrate here with an APHE shell, the shell will go in, gets deflected downward, explodes here, and as you can see, we have massive amounts of ammunition and just 4 crew members, and the ammunition is everywhere. But back to the armor, let's have a look at the side armor. And the first thing we have to talk about the side armor is the tracks. We're looking at 4 sets of tracks, and each track gets counted as 30 millimeters of additional armor, especially also those structural steel wheels that add up. 4 times 20 is like 80 millimeters. Also we have the structural steel, which also is something between 80 and 40 millimeters thick, which is not the actual armor. And we have the front here, which is just 76.2 millimeters thick, but it doesn't cover the interior of the tank itself. This is the job for this side plate, which is 101.6 millimeters thick. But that's not all. Again, we have behind that all the tracks and the structural steel, and also after that we have 50 millimeters again of flat armor, and this also goes up to like here. So this part is also covered, and we have here also 63.5 millimeters sloped. I don't get the right angle, but I assume it's like something between 50 and 60 degrees according to the effective thickness. Just a rule of thumb, you know. And we're looking at effective thickness together with up to 150 if you have a good shot, or 170 millimeters. This part here is just 63.5 millimeters. Behind that is no additional armor. Does this part here work as spaced armor? Well, it should. If it does really, if it does really work, if it is implemented correctly, I don't know, because I don't get shot with heat shells that much from the side. We have also additional tracks here and certain hard points, I guess, for a crane for the shells, as you can see here, but it really doesn't matter that much. Now then, the rear of the tank, just 50 millimeters. The top is 38 most parts. Just the top of the cupola is 76 millimeters thick, and also there is this strange frame which is 120 millimeter thick. The thing is this tank is so slow that it is a priority target to fighter bombers or bombers, because it just can't escape, you know. Let's have a look at the X-ray. Again, as I just said, a lot of ammunition. It's two-staged. Yes, you can try to take out like half of your ammunition, and I think this part here next to the loader will get emptied first. But really, when you get penetrated by a long 88 or a 122 millimeter shell, you have other problems. Believe me, you just have 4 crew members, and this is a bad thing, because if 2 get knocked out, which is very likely by a penetration, either by APDS or heat from the front, or by APHE from the cupola, you just have 2 crew members left. And the repairs, it doesn't matter for what, take ages. This is one of the tanks where I don't understand it, you know, because this is all about the protection, and you get detracked relatively easy, because the tracks are a huge target, and immobilizing this tank and just flanking it is the way to take it out. Yeah, let's talk about the gun itself. As I said, it's two-staged ammunition, and we are looking at the caliber of 10.5 millimeter, of 10.5 centimeters. The stock shell is the T32, which actually does have relatively good penetration values for a solid shot, you know, 258. This is practically the same gun as we will find on the upcoming Tier 4 premium American heavy tank, the T29. At least that's what I saw on the dev server. Yeah, but there is a problem with it. The damaging effect is not that convincing. The very same with the APCR you can unlock, which features 350 millimeters of penetration. You know my opinion on APCR, I'm not a huge fan of it. The T30 HE shell, yeah, the caliber is too low for effectively using it. Yeah, but the really bad thing is everything around the gun. Okay, and I'm sorry that it takes so long that I'm talking about it, but you have to understand it, that everything together just ruins this tank. Now, I don't have a problem with solid shots as long as I have the rate of fire, like on the Tortoise, okay? But here we're looking at, let's have a look at the crew. There we have it. As you can see, have a normally fully maxed crew, you know, for credits. We have a base of like 20 seconds of reload. Mine is down to 16.3 seconds, and for gold or for you know, playing this tank a lot, you can, so practically for the ace crew you get 15.4 seconds. Those are the very same stats as you get on the 10.5 King Tigers 10.5 centimeter gun, okay? In terms of reload, you also feature two-staged ammunition, but here is the difference. The King Tiger has better mobility, in certain terms better protection because it doesn't have this prominent cupola. It also features better gun depression. It features a turret, so you can look around the corner, you know. The gun handling is just better, okay? And also, when you penetrate somebody with the King Tiger's APHE shell, it's mostly a one-shot. Whereas with this tank, you have to aim carefully. And there are multiple examples where it really becomes apparent that the ammunition often lets you down. And this is what gets you killed, okay? Because often you just have one shot with the T95. That's all you get from the enemy. Yeah, but I think you can see that this tank is very limited in its use. Again, the premium version is I wouldn't purchase it for 1,000 gold. You know, I would pick like the any other American tier 4 tank and would put a talisman on it, or use the super Hellcat. You know, from what I've seen and heard from those two tanks, they're also not very good and not worth the money. The super Hellcat is the way to go in terms of premiums. So I think that's enough theory crafting. And what's upcoming are not entire matches, okay, but sections of what happens, because the way I have to cut it out a lot because most part is just driving around. So this is the second battle of El Alamein, and as you can see, the first shot, yeah, doesn't do any damage against the T-44. I cut out the long parts of waiting, but the second shot, as you can see, this is an advantage of solid shots, that you actually can shoot through buildings. And yeah, I just waited here and tried not to get flanked. With the T-95, it is some sort of art to also view the mini map, and I didn't have any support. Here you can see unlucky bounce on the King Tiger's roof, and this is actually the point where I'm retreating. This was, he missed my cupola, and I was trying to find him with the binoculars, you know, because I can use binoculars too, not just for the realistic tankers, you know, in certain situations. It is actually pretty good, especially for a tank like the T-95 that is relatively low to the ground. I see on the minimap that an IS-2 is flanking me. I can't quite see him, and this is what I'm talking about. This was the first crippling shot, taking out my loader and driver, and now there is nothing I can do. I tried to retreat, but it was not to be. Tried to angle. He missed my cupola, thankfully. But look at the reload. I'm halfway through my reload. He just shot. I tried to get safe from the left King Tiger. I nearly have him in my sight, and yeah. This is your problem with German tankers and Russian tankers. They, you know, while the T-95 is not the most popular vehicle to be played, it seems like everybody knows your weak spot, and this is a perfect example of the gun not being accurate enough. There was a Hellcat behind the building. I got the marker, I aimed right, but the shell just didn't hit. I wait for him to come back, and you know, obviously to reload, and no love. Yeah, I cut out another part. And as you can see, this is the gun handling. Yeah, and my overwhelming skill, you know, threw the shell into the wall, the side of the house. And I tried to get another shot on this Hellcat, because I'm really afraid of getting shots in the side. And this was a good hit, taking out two crew members of him. At this point, I think that he had quite enough. Yeah, the machine gun is the best friend, because while driving you have nothing else to do. And as you can see, he tried to shoot my side, but I angled at the right time. And yeah, this was just the turret drive, you know. With a more, I think, sensitive APHE shell, I would have killed him. And this is the point where I thought, now I can show my strength. And I had luck that this IS-2 was dunking the shot, and that I found the right spot. Seems like I hit ammunition with a fragment. but as you could see also as well, the gun handling wasn't too good. Now I hesitated a bit with advancing. I looked at the side, saw that those two guys were actually securing the flank, which is very good. And there is a golden rule that you have to follow with every tank within War Thunder, and that is simply not go into battle with or not go into certain situations without having a shell in the breach. I tracked this, it seems like a Centurion Mark III, and I know that his APDS shell can't really kill me, you know. He can't penetrate my frontal armor directly, and hitting the cupola is not very good for him, but he can track me, you know, and I have no support at the moment. I try to get a better angle at the side armor, but it still gets deflected and somebody else takes him out. Now again, I was not quite sure what to do here. I had to wait until the shell gets reloaded. I received a hit from a King Tiger that's on the other side of the building. I tried to get a proper shot onto him, but yeah, I actually found the shell, and it seems like that he received heavy damage before, because I had to kill just one crew member, as you could see. So I wait until my shell gets reloaded, and in a few moments you get some sort of live recording where one of my friends bumped into my channel. This was big luck, and here we go.
Stell dich irgendwo hin und warte, bis was auf dich schießt.
Ja, und dann halt eine APAE-Granate in die Kuppel rein und...
Dann mach oben auf die, wo die Kuppel ist, Gras drauf, so Büsche.
Hilft mir in der Arcade wenig. Oh, shit.
Es gibt halt Panzer, die sind nur für Realistic gut. Ja, dann recorde doch einfach das Replay.
Ja, da sieht man nicht das gleiche.
Doch, natürlich. Du kannst das Overlay vom Replay ausmachen und du kannst sagen, zeig das an, wie ich es im Spiel gesehen habe. Es geht.
Yeah, and it's at this point where I actually had to delete the sound file from the game, because yeah, very unpleasant German words actually exchanged between people because of a certain tank. I wonder if you can guess which tank it is. Now, it is really the frustration level that builds up with this tank over time, and it is really not a fun tank. The next scene as well, you can quite clearly see I want to help this guy. If you have a look at the minimap, we're actually the only one left. This King Tiger player was a really good player, if you can see how he did it. I found a lucky shot into his turret, and at this moment I was like, oh man, he face hugs me, and instead of going for me, he goes for the T-44-100, which is obviously the bigger threat. And he wiggles his turret around, and my shell gets deflected from the gun mantle. I do the same, which is a relatively good tactic. And yeah, again, I try to hit him, take out his gunner again, but I hear engine noises from the back. I look at the minimap, I'm completely surrounded, I'm completely alone. I try to wiggle my tank, but I fell for a moment, and voila, there he is. And this is the frustrating part, you know. You get hit, your loader dies, and he, in the moment of dying, he throws himself back, the shell ripping out of the breech, and the shell together with the propellant charge fall perfectly back into the storage, you know. And this is just the frustration with such kind of tanks. And I was just a second too slow. I waited with the extinguishing of fire, and there you can see how you always die in this tank. Yeah, the next scene as well shows you exactly what I mean. Somehow I bounce here on the super Pershing, unlucky angle I guess, and yeah, there is a leopard all around. I was just practically rolling out of the cap circle, so to say. I really had no chance to do anything, and yeah. Again, sorry for cutting out the sound, but here something happened with the sound file, but it was the best I could, or it was a good example of what happens. And watch exactly to the hit cam. By the way, I'm detracked on 2 parts now. I found the shot, and it goes through the fuel tank and through the entirety of the frontal armor. He doesn't get ammo wrecked, and he doesn't get set on fire. He drives behind me, and yeah, I mean, what can you do? This is the frustrating part, you know. Even my mouse is better here. And look at this. Look at this kill shot. Okay, this was a T-54 mod 1949, killing me with APDS from the front. Remember, I have 305 millimeters of frontal armor where he hit me, and this APDS shell does have 299 millimeters of penetration. Okay, keep that in mind, please. Now here you can see that the T95 is actually such a rarity on the battlefield that this King Tiger pushes me, which was kind of funny. And you can see that he writes something in chat. I said thank you, but as you could see on the speed, it really yeah. Yeah, that was my imminent reaction. He actually offered me here the possibility to put the tow cable on him, but again, it really doesn't help much, you know. It's the gear that doesn't support the speed. Simple as that. Yeah, he takes it away. I was finally in a good spot, had a really good side shot on an IS-2. As you can see, if you don't hit the right place, it is not very good. And I aimed firstly for the engine, but then I changed for the turret, and I waited until he turned perfectly so that I could hit all the crew members in the turret. Next example is the same. I had peekaboo with an IS-2. I remove here this wooden house, and this was a really good shot. It seems like that I hit the ammunition, and look at this. The shot goes right through. Granted, it wasn't aimed particularly well, you know, but I was confident. Yeah, now I have him. Now I have him. Surely I have him now, you know. But again, you know, it was like I got this shot, and as you can see, again I hit the ammunition, set him on fire. I thought, yeah, with the next shot, I don't know if this guy was AFK, but do you hear it? Those are bombs. And I was like, oh come on, you know. I even didn't have the opportunity to get a second shot in him, and the bomb from the Lancaster killed me, but not the Patton 2. And this was just the point of which I said, okay, that's enough footage for me today. And yeah, this is practically a tank review. I think it was long enough. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. If you're still watching it, thanks for enduring through it with me. I was not very looking forward to make this tank review, but it had to be done. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, and let me know in the comment section below what you think. the next tank reviews will be much better in terms of footage, quality, and also happiness. So, see you next time.